Dear students, welcome all of you to the open elective course offered by Department of Life Science entitled as Biochemistry of Cell. I am Dr. Nivedita, the Assistant Professor, Department of Life Science. Today I will discuss the cellular basis of life and the structural components of cell. Take a brief look to the slide. It represents a glimpse of the biodiversity on Earth, colony of bacteria, mold on the braids, mushrooms on the tree trunk, forest, small fruit fly, Drosophila, butterflies emerges from the caterpillar, fishes in the sea, horses in the farm, and the tiny little kid playing on the garden. All these plants and animals are made of the building blocks which we call as cells. Here you can see examples of multicellular organisms as well as many living organisms consist of vast number of cells working in concert with one another. Other forms of life is also possible, are made up of single cells, such as the many species of bacteria and protozoa. Cells, whether living on their own or as part of a multicellular organisms, are usually too small to be seen without a light microscope. Cells is the basic so what is cells? Cells is the basic or the smallest unit of life that is called as a living organisms. Cell is a building block of life. Cell is the smallest entity capable of displaying attributes associated uniquely with the living states like growth, metabolism, stimulus response, and replications. Every living organism is composed of single cells or multiple cells. Any living organisms fall into one of two broad categories, prokaryotes or eukaryotes. Next, the timeline of evolution of life on Earth from prokaryotes to eukaryotes. This slide depicts a timeline of the evolution of life on Earth. It outlines the major events in the development of life on the planet Earth. Our Earth is almost 4.5 billion years old, approximately between 4.5 to 3.5 billion years ago. The earliest form of life appears, possibly in the form of self-reproducing RNA molecules. The replications of living organisms requires resources like energy, space, building blocks, which soon become very limited, resulting in competitions. Then natural selections happens. Natural selections favor those molecules which are more efficient at replications. DNA molecules then take over as the main replicators. They soon develop inside enclosed membranes, which provide a stable physical and chemical environment conducive to the replication of protocells. Between 3.9 to 2.5 billion years ago, cells resembling prokaryotes appear. These first organisms used to use carbon dioxide as a carbon source and oxidize inorganic materials to extract energy. Later prokaryotes evolved glycolysis as a set of chemical reaction that use the energy of organic molecules such as glucose. Glycolysis starts to generate ATP molecules as a short-term energy currency, and ATP continues to be used in almost all organisms unchanged to this day. By 2.1 billion years ago, eukaryotic cells appears. Eukaryotes contain membrane-bound organelle with diverse function, probably derived prokaryotes engulfing each other via phagocytosis. By 2 billion years ago, approximately, sexual reproductions evolves, increasing the rate of evolutions. Around 1.7 billion years ago, simple multicellular organisms evolved, mostly consisting of cell colonies of limited complexity. 850 to 630 million years ago, a global glaciations may have reduced the diversity of life. 580 to 540 million years ago, the first large complex multicellular organism evolved. 580 to 500 million years ago, most modern groups begin to appear in the fossil record during the Cambrian explosions. Around 540 million years ago, the accumulation of atmospheric oxygen allows the formation of ozone layer, which blocks the ultraviolet radiations, permitting the colonization on the land. From 542 million years ago, present up to this day, literally the period of well-displayed life marks the appearance in the fossil record of abundant cell-forming and trace-making organisms. Now, just go through the slide. You can see what are the difference in a multicellular organisms also. What are the different types of cells may be there. You can see that actually cells have adapted over billions of years ago to a wide array of environmental and functional changes. So you can see that different cells, type of cells they're different in terms of their functionality, in terms of their activity, as well as in terms of their morphology. Suppose, as an example, nerve cells, for example, have long, thin extensions that can reach for meters and serve to transmit signals rapidly. On the other hand, the long tapered muscle cells have an intrinsic property that allows them to change length within contracting and relaxing biceps. You can see the small cells also. They're entirely different from other cells in terms of activity as well as in terms of morphology. Cells are considered as a basic unit of life in part of because they come in discrete and easily recognizable package. That is, because all cells are surrounded by a structure called the cell membrane, which, much like the walls of a house, serve as a clear boundary between the cell's internal and external environment. The cell membrane is sometimes also referred to as the plasma membrane, plasma membrane. Yet, however different as these cells are, they rely on the same basic strategies to keep the outside out, allow necessary substances in, and permit others to live, maintain their health, and replicate themselves. In fact, these traits are precisely what make a cell a cell. Within this membrane, a cell's interior environment is water-based called cytoplasm. This liquid environment is packed full of the cellular machinery and the structural elements. Next, we'll see what are the essential components, chemical components of a cell. Majorly, we can classify in five chemical groups. Okay, lipids, nucleic acids, proteins, carbohydrates, and water. Now, we'll see what is lipid and what its function actually. Lipids are fat molecules or components of cell membrane. They are also involved in the energy storage as well as relaying signals within cells. Cell membranes are a framework of fat-based molecules called phospholipids. These membranes are also studded with proteins that serve various functions. Some of these proteins act as gatekeepers, determining what substance can and cannot cross the membrane. Next, we will see the another type of molecule, that is biomolecules, that is the nucleic acid. What is its role in role and functions inside the cellular environment? So nucleic acid are the molecules that contain and help express a cell's genetic code. There are two major classes of nucleic acid, that is deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA and ribonucleic acid or RNA. DNA is actually the molecule that contains all the informations, hereditary informations required to build and maintain the cells. And through the cellular processes, it actually transmitted from generation after generations. RNA has several roles associated with expression of the information stored in DNA. Next, we will see another class of chemical compounds, that is carbohydrate. What is its role in the cellular environment? Carbohydrates, that the starches and the sugars in cells, are another important type of organic molecule. Simple carbohydrates are used for cells' immediate energy demands, whereas complex carbohydrates serve as intracellular energy stores. Complex carbohydrates are also found on a cell's surface, where they play a crucial role in cellular recognitions. Next, we'll go for another important class of chemical groups, that is protein, and what is its role inside the cellular environment. Proteins are actually macromolecules, that is made from the chains of smaller molecules called as amino acids, and they serve a variety of functions in the cell, both catalytic as well as structural. For example, proteins called enzymes which can convert cellular molecules into other forms that might help a cell meet its energy needs, build support structure, or pump out waste. Thank you.